Gokurakugai. Is it worth even one shot? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to another Volume 1 review. Today we're here to discuss Volume 1 of Gokurakugai.
That's crazy.
Gokurakugai.
What did you even say?
Sorry. If you don't know anything about Gokurakugai, it's a mouthful. Megan, hit us with a synopsis.
The troubleshooters of Gokurakugai are open for business. In a rundown town without a law and order, Alma and Tao accept work from clientele of all creeds and cultures, and they're always ready to dole out justice against human-devouring monsters that lurk in the shadows. They'll take on any case as long as the price is right.
There's a lot to talk about. There have been a lot of conversations surrounding this series, specifically surrounding a one-shot that was released first and was said to be better than the actual final product, which I can attest to because I did read it, and it is far, far superior, to what we end up getting here.
It was actually written in 2020 when this was actually published, so I think it got like the immediate green light after the one shot came out to start publishing. And just reading some discourse online, people expressed like why it might have been better. Just based off of like maybe editor notes or trying to fit within the demographic of like shonen, using specific notes. I made up a word, a disease actually, if you will. I wrote, this series suffers from shonenitis.
Okay.
A disease of shonen sameness that affects and inhibits all further development from characters due to editor notes and deadlines. And that's the diagnosis.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
I needed to wear a mask during this because I didn't want to get shonenitis.
That kind of leads us, I think, very perfectly into our spoiler-free review. And the first question, which is, did you like it?
I mean, I liked the art. Reading like in the first couple pages, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to be great. The world is cool. The characters are cool. The designs, even their like attitudes were really like refreshing. But then it just kind of became a lot of the same, like very samey to things that I've seen before. If you're familiar with like the detective, like supernatural detective shows or manga, like there's so many. I wouldn't compare it necessarily to the size of like isekai, but there's a lot of them, and I've seen a lot of them. And the process is like, if it's like really, really unique, and I like the characters, then I'll continue to like watch or read. But in this case, it wasn't either.
Right.
So it was just like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna just answer this very bluntly. Did I like it? Not really. It was incredibly painfully mid. The art style is gorgeous. The character designs, gorgeous. This is a beautiful manga, but it feels so soulless. It feels almost AI generated. The characters feel hollow. I know that sounds harsh, but like,
we're not talking about Bleach, though. We're talking about Gokurakugai.
There were some creatures at the end of this first chapter that do remind me of early Hollows.
Definitely.
But yeah, I don't want to sound too harsh because I know the mangaka is capable. After reading that one shot, like I know they can tell a good story. I do feel like what you were saying earlier is true, that this is a case of just like editors being too involved and forcing a creator like into a box. I
mean, or the creator kind of like putting themselves in a box when it comes to maybe like Shonen Jump, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we don't know exactly what the case is because I mean it's a large audience, like a large voice in the community that are like, yeah, the one shot's way better. Like you don't really need to continue to read the manga because it's so different and like the vibe is very different as well.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting situation, an interesting case because like it starts off very similar and they do look kind of similar. They just have like different outfits on. but then it ends up going a
Their names
completely
are
different,
switched.
completely different direction. And I just feel like one of my big issues, and this is still spoiler free for the first volume, one of my big issues with this, when we talk about like story, character, and art, I really latch on a character more than anything. I feel like you could have,
Same.
yeah, I feel like you could have like a semi interesting or not so interesting world, and I would still enjoy it if the characters were good. These characters feel hollow, like they have no personality.
I was hoping for, because I mean, it's the first volume, I'll give them that, but I was hoping for more moments between the two of them. And I understand that Tao, is it?
Miss Tao,
she's very like aloof and like cool woman, don't really give a fuck about nothing. But I wanted more from the both of them because they are like partners in crime. Like they do work together.
I don't know. By the end of the first volume, I don't know why they're together. I don't know what either of their deals really are outside of them just being partners.
Or him using them using his blood for her weapons. Like that's pretty much the only connection that you get from them.
Which is absolutely insane because just from the one shot.
Sorry, that was a spoiler.
I mean, it's okay. It's a spoiler for the first chapter, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just from the one shot, I feel so much more attached to Tao, and I guess Alma too, but especially Tao, than I did in the entire first volume. It's insane. So yeah, I do feel like the art is the best part of this. I think the story is pretty generic. I think the characters are pretty generic.
Yeah.
And that's sad and it breaks my heart. But like I said, I don't want this to come across as like, mean-spirited because I know that the mangaka is extremely capable and extremely talented.
I mean, going into like strengths and weaknesses, like definitely, like you said, like the art and the character design are like super unique. I mean, the two of them are a very cool duo. We get to meet other characters along the way that are just designed like really cool. There are different types of people in this world, and getting to see them is a treat. I like that part of the world. Different species, I guess you would say. And again, weakness, just it is very samey. I feel like I've seen this duo. I feel like I've seen this vibe before, and there are other series that just do it better, unfortunately. Specifically like detective work stuff, like I would recommend Inspector. There's 2 seasons out. I've only watched the first season, and it is a supernatural detective show, and it just does it better than this, unfortunately. There's uniqueness to it. The characters are complex, and like their relationships expand during, even the first episode of the show. So I would recommend that if you're looking for something kind of similar. That's not like a Mob Psycho, because everyone's seen Mob Psycho. If you haven't seen Mob Psycho, what are you doing? But
it's a classic for a reason. It's freaking great.
Inspector is great.
I don't know if I would really recommend this to anybody, and if I did, it would honestly be to like a very like young kid, because I feel like a middle school kid would honestly probably really like that. A middle school kid doesn't really care about like, I mean, I don't want to say doesn't really care, but like maybe doesn't notice things about like character as much. Maybe it's something you can feel, but I don't think that they're like looking to pick it apart the same way that like, someone who's older might.
Right. And that's totally okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there are series, especially within Shonen Jump, that are more that probably would do better with a much younger audience.
Yeah. And if I did recommend it at all, I would recommend you read the one shot and then read the first chapter of the manga, the official manga, just so you can see the difference and so you can see the process. It almost feels like we hear so many stories of like Hollywood and studios interfering, and it almost feels like that. I again, like this is all speculation. But like, yeah, it's just super interesting to see a version 1 that is, to me at least, in my opinion, so much better with so much more character and such a interesting story. It is interesting to see that as the one shot, and then to see something completely lacking as the final result. So I can't help but think that there's some interference there. It's all speculation, but I would just recommend it so that you could experience that for yourself, because it's interesting to see like the ideation, I think is the word, the process, the creative process, to see like how things evolve, how things change. We're going to save our final rating until after our beat by beat discussion. But before we get into that, if you'd like to support this show and see more conversations like this, consider becoming a Patreon member by going to patreon.com/volume1pod or click join somewhere next to the subscribe button on this video. It helps. It matters. You can subscribe and like the video for absolutely free. And you can even try out our Patreon for free for the first 7 days to see if it's right for you. You can also listen to these episodes as audio-only episodes on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. But with that out of the way, on to the review.
I did want to just briefly say the author's name. It's Yuto Sano, who did the story and the art. Their other works include Lawless Kid, and then obviously the Gokurakugai. Now you're making me say it. Gokurakugai, one shot in 2020, and then this started in 2020, July 4th, and it's still ongoing, and it's shown in the demographic shown.
Let's start going through this beat by beat, starting with the first chapter. We're introduced to our two main characters, Alma and Miss Tao, who are troubleshooters that work in the Gokurakugai district. Troubleshooters meaning that they help solve people's problems at a price. They are a duo, like we said in the spoiler-free section, that it does feel like we've seen before, and a lot of these chapters do feel like they hit the same beats. This chapter is a lot about a kid named Luca trying to find his friend Yuki, who is a beastman, which are a type of people that exist in this world and is never explained.
It's never explained, and it's also talked about how there's like a prejudice against them, how they're like lower than humans.
Never shown.
We get to meet two along the way, but yeah, and he wasn't even like full beastman. There's like different variations of beast.
Right.
That also shocked me.
Oh yeah.
Because bitch, not even in the first couple chapters, in one of the panels, they're talking about this old man. He's covering up something. He got photos taken of him, and they're covering up. They kind of deal with. They're very gray. I mean, if the price is right, they'll do it. They're helping out this man, and he got pictures taken of him at a brothel. And in the photo, again, they've not talked about Beastmen yet. They have not said anything about Beastmen. So this is the first fucking impression that I get from them.
Yeah.
There's a photo of him, and there's a fucking animal on top of him, and he's writhing in like lustful pain in the photo, and I see a claw, and I go,
a beautiful sentence, by the way, writhing in lustful pain.
I'm reading a lot of fantasy romance
I love
books right
that.
now. My vocabulary is going up. I was shocked. I literally, Josh was sitting next to me. I go, okay, pause.
Yeah.
Bestiality, and they follow it up with, just admit you're a sick fuck. And they have not said there's beastmen. I don't know anything.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
And I'm like, is this guy just like, was there
so
bestiality? Funny? Like, what is happening right now?
You know what's so funny is so in the manga,
yes,
you only see the snout.
Yeah, yes.
And then you see him like, writhing in lustful pain on the bed. In the one shot, they show way more. Not like way more, but like a lot. You see like waist up.
Okay, what is he like? Is it peg situation, or is it?
No, they're just kind of like embracing each other, like in a face to face sort of like embrace, like in a bed. But yeah.
But it's a beast, full beast.
Oh yeah, it's a dog person for sure.
Is it woman or man?
I'm gonna assume. You know what? I'm not gonna assume.
You're learning.
Yeah. Another thing I really did not enjoy about this volume is that a lot of the situations that the characters in are put in like feel like they are pushed to the max. They feel like they are ridiculous, over the top versions of beats that we've seen before to tug on your heartstring or to make you feel for a character. Like we see it in the first chapter. And I think even more so in the second chapter, where it's just like people are so like they're just doing things to be mean. It's just absurd. It doesn't feel like there's a reason for anything that's happening. And I know that like bullying isn't always like portrayed like super accurately in like media, but this kid that we meet in the first chapter, Luca, who's trying to save his beast boy friend, Yuki, he like gets picked on for drawing. Like, he loves drawing. And it shows him, like, sitting in the park by himself drawing. Bitch, he's drawing the coolest fucking shit I've ever seen in my life. The most intricate. It's like a lion man superhero. Like, it's awesome. And then when you meet him, he's like graffitiing on the wall. Like, this is a little ass kid too. Fucking talented. And there's like, everybody makes fun of me for my art. It's like, what kind of weird, movie town do you live in where everybody's just acting like caricatures?
Right. And it didn't even really make sense. They could have just had his father be upset that he would draw all the time.
Right, sure, yeah.
Not like his classmates, because like if you have a talent, it's kind of like bartering, when you're at that age, when you're a kid, like if you have a talent, kids will flock.
Yeah.
Magic.
Yeah.
Drawing.
Yeah.
Making keychains. Making duct tape wallets. I mean, the list goes on. If you got a skill, you hone it. So it doesn't make any sense that he's getting picked on at school. He has problems at school. I mean, problems at home.
Which, okay, sure, yeah. But like, them kids would be paying him to draw them all kinds
or they would just watch
stuff. Because they're kids.
Is that what you...
And kids,
Is that really what boys would do? Because that's insane.
You know what?
I mean, is it insane?
It's not insane.
I mean, that's better than like going online
at that age,
looking up stuff.
yeah. I'm just saying, I didn't really buy it. It just felt, again, very, very generic.
I thought you were talking about the drawing.
No, I did pay for that.
You're like, I was the one pumping them out. Yeah. No, I agree. And it was just a classic case of like, save my friend because he's all I have. It's like,
yeah.
We didn't even get to spend enough time. I didn't really care.
I didn't give a fuck. And we end up finding him in an alley, and these, I shit you not, MAGA come out of this gate. Absolutely insane that like nowhere in the chain of... Because
we're not that important.
I understand, but there are... And I've listened to a lot of... I don't
speak for MAGA. That wasn't me speaking for MAGA. I just meant like the United States.
So do not speak for MAGA. Do not. But, I've listened to a lot of podcasts and I've been curious at like the process of like translating books or like making books. And like whether it be like Harry Potter or really, manga, like really anything. There are people whose job it is to translate things. Like Muggles aren't called Muggles in other countries. Like they're called Muggles in America, but Muggles are called something else in, Spain or, wherever. And that's true for a lot of fantasy. Like they change and they tweak names because things might have a different connotation or a different meaning. Nobody gave a fuck when they were translating this. And it honestly...
Maybe they did.
Honestly, crazy, bro. Crazy.
Maybe they did. Maybe the conspiracy goes deeper than you think.
Because some of the lines in here, like I can't even say them out loud. You're just like putting that word in front of it because it's going to get misinterpreted.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because of what their job is. It's so crazy. But it was distracting for me. I'll be honest. Like it was funny. I was laughing at it, but I wasn't like, it wasn't like, now I know why those jobs exist, because if that would have literally been called anything else, like maybe I would have been able to engage a little bit more with those moments, but I just kept laughing and I kept getting taken out immediately when they were hunting MAGA. Like it's just so crazy. And maybe that's an American thing and a dumb thing and a silly thing, but again, it's done for other stories. So I don't know. It just would have been nice for them to change it here.
And we find out that MAGA are monsters created from resurrected flesh of man and beast.
Couldn't even tell you what the fuck that means. As we went on, like it sort of started changing. Like
it started changing because then it was like an actual person. Like it wasn't like combined flesh. It was like a resurrected person that was dead.
Yeah,
or
I
died.
Know.
I'm kind of confused on that. Because
I'm very confused.
We'll get into it on the second chapter because and then we also find out that he's half MAGA as well.
Yeah, Alma comes to save the day. And we find out he's half MAGA and he's got a weapon in his chest, and Miss Tao has her guns. I just don't feel like
he uses his blood,
right,
for his weapons.
He's got MAGA blood. He's half MAGA, so he's got like this what would you call
cleaver.
it? Like a cleaver. Yeah. That he's using. And it's just like very generic.
One eye, half. You have to make sure we know that it's half.
Right.
It's a one eye.
And then he defeats the MAGA and saves the day.
And they get a new sign.
They get a new sign, and that's just another day
At Gokurakugai.
as a troubleshooter.
Yeah.
So yeah, already very generic. I had read this chapter a very long time ago.
Yeah, you'd mentioned
when
that.
the very first chapter came out. I read it because it looked beautiful,
right?
And then I felt the same. And so I didn't continue to read on. However, when we spun the wheel on our community live and this came up, I was very curious to see what chapter 2 and what chapter 3 had in store. Would it get better? Was it just a case of not a great start? But Megan, why don't you take us into chapter 2?
Sure. Alma and Tao go home, which is code name for the anti-MAGA organization headquarters called the Snake Pit. And this is when I was like, okay.
No,
literally, I'm back. We're
back.
going to a headquarters. We're going home. Why is it their home? Why do they call it home? Where they meet a beast man named Yoki and a woman named Dara. Again, we see full beast man. I feel better about the bestiality situation. It's not that. There are full beastmen in this story. I thought they were just half,
Right. No, they're people, essentially.
They're people.
But, still, it's the man's a freak. The man's a freak.
I guess so. We find out that they frequent there to draw Alma's blood, which they then use to make Tao's weapons. So essentially, they're pulling out all of the MAGA from his system, which if he's half, I don't know how that works. If he was born that way, they're just going to kill him. You can't kill half of him. He's going to be...
And there's a whole through line too about him choosing, right? Is he going to choose to be MAGA or is he going to choose to be human? He's both and neither. So just do what's right. There's just this whole thing that I feel like I should care about, but I really don't care about. And they kind of touch on it again here too.
Excuse me, sorry, I sneezed. Woo! All this MAGA talk is making my allergies.
I'm allergic to MAGA.
And yeah, so they get sent on a mission essentially after his blood is drawn to look into investigation in people's disappearances, which lead them to a cemetery where they meet this mourning boy named Misato. He then explains that oh yeah, I'm visiting my grandpa. He was murdered by my dad for insurance money because he was greedy, and I wish he was here. I wish he was here, but my dad literally stuffed a fucking sock in his mouth and suffocated him to death in front of him. For insurance
for
money.
His but also
for his money. And he's he's a fucking dead weight. And he's he was the one who was working though. So
that's what I'm saying. It's a caricature of a bad dad, or they're okay, how can we make this dad really, really bad? How can we make sure that
he
people
killed
know?
Someone? And he went to prison though.
He did go to prison, but he's taking people's paychecks. He's taking people's money.
Right.
He doesn't want to work. And yeah, it just felt so forced, because even as he's standing over the grandfather's dead body, he's you get paid today, right? Leave it on the table. And then the kid is crying. Paycheck. And I was really?
My dad
really?
just killed my grandpa.
It's so over the top. It's goofy. It feels like B-movie. It feels like something making fun of something.
But there's a way, I don't know. I mean, that is not so crazy. It's just the way that it was done and dumped. It felt like we were meeting
and that's a fair point too.
A what is it called? Non-playable character. Their backstory was being played and you can't skip it. It just felt let's just get I know a MAGA is gonna come out and we're gonna defeat it. Let's just get just I know what's gonna happen. That's what it was. I think it was just the way that you knew exactly what was going to happen throughout the whole thing. Then he gets attacked by MAGA, just like we said, in the cemetery, and almost starts taking care of business. When suddenly the MAGA starts talking, the MAGA starts begging for his life, and it turns out to be the dad, the bitch dad.
Well, we find out that MAGA are can be, if they've taken over a specific body, they can latch on to the residual memories. It doesn't mean that they are that person, but they can they can feed on the memories. This is what
I was confused.
Yeah, they can feed on the memories.
They can feed on the memories, but they all are also made up of resurrected people.
Right.
That's why I was oh, that's a cool twist. They are. It's kind of like JJK with the cursed souls.
Right.
They are people. They just got out of control because they're so evil, or something evil happened to them, and they're trying to haunt.
Yeah. No. I totally get it. I just. believe that like whatever causes them, because they come through these gates, so they're like, and Tao says something later, because again there's that moment of like, I can't believe any of this is real, and she's like, it's real,
get used to it.
Yeah, hell is a place and reality is real. And I was like, okay, but almost implying that they come from hell, like they are these things that come from hell, take over a body, and then can kind of use the residual memories of that body to manipulate people and prevent them from like killing them.
Right. Well, that's exactly what he was doing. He was begging for his life, and he was like, I did it for you.
Right.
I did it for you. And that kind of allows Isata to get some closure. Like, oh no, I won't forgive you. You're a terrible yeah, you shouldn't forgive him because he killed your fucking grandpa and made your life a living hell. But then that was crazy. I mean, he you know, Isato's like, I hate you, but he doesn't deliver the final blow. That's what Alma does. And Alma's like, that's what he's like, I don't have a choice. I have to eat humans. I can't help it. And he's like, that's why we fucking kill you. I was like, damn.
A lot of like cheesy one-liner moments.
I was like, damn.
Yeah. I'm glad he didn't let him keep yapping, keep talking.
No, because it's just, let's get the job done.
Yeah.
Let's get the job done.
Then we move into chapter 3.
Yes.
It's, you know, kind of, this is the first chapter that does feel like it's going to be a little bit different. It opens up. Again, this is giving me very strong like JJK vibes at the beginning of this chapter.
It's JJK meets Conan.
Detective Conan? I don't know. I would call it Diet JJK. I would call it maybe, you know, I don't know.
If I had to compare it to anything though.
Well, there's not even really like, there's not even a real mystery. I mean, there's kind of a mystery.
It starts to build up in this chapter where there's like a person, which I you know, I think they're going to be similar to Alma.
Maybe half.
And they're
MAGA.
like honing more of their MAGA skills. And he's going to be like, Alma, join me. Being a MAGA is so much better than being a human.
Right.
And then there's going to be the tension. Again, I can predict this shit.
Yeah, it's very paint by numbers. This whole chapter starts with like these women, they're being choked by something invisible. There is a man standing behind them, but we just see like the imprints of fingers. They're all women. They're all strung up in the street, and MAGA aren't coming to feast on the corpses, meaning that whoever's doing this has some sort of control over MAGA. And we're learning all of this from a new character, Tatsuomi, who we heard a bit about in chapter 2, who's just again another just like very generic character, simp for Miss Tao,
greedy guy, you know,
hates fucking Alma.
Yeah. They hate each other.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you really like if you've seen any anime, you've or read any manga, then you've read this. I know it sounds harsh, and I apologize.
You're being harsh. No, you're being harsh.
I just want to be real at the same time. So then they start like Tatsuomi and Miss Tao have this conversation, and it's again a very generic conversation where Tatsuomi's like, "You think this is that guy that you've been looking for?" And she's like, "Oh, damn, maybe it is, you know." First of all, she doesn't have really. That's the like what I just did. She doesn't emote. Like she doesn't like have.
She's a straight. She's just a straight. She's the straight man. You know.
She's just kind of looking, whatever. And he's like, "Bet you didn't think. What if that one guy, that you've been looking for, like, what if he became like MAGA? Bet you didn't think about that, huh? Bet you didn't ever consider that." And she's just like, you know, damn, she's fucked up.
It's gonna be her former partner or something.
Yeah. They go to try to like deal with the situation. They end up fighting more MAGA. They think that it's all taken care of.
But it's not.
Alma has a coupon, so he goes back to a store close by, and that guy is there. And this is like a very mysterious guy who doesn't really talk, and we don't ever really get to know anything else about.
No, because it ends.
Because it ends there. It ends with their like meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it for the whole first volume. I do want to like.
It was pretty short too.
The chapters did feel long. Though.
Really? I didn't really feel that
because they were beat by beat, because they were kind of like paint by numbers. It did feel like repetitive, and so it made them feel longer. Read the one shot. Miss Tao has so much more personality in the one shot. You get to learn.
But there's
about her backstory.
There's a way to do like a straight laced character with more personality.
They did it in the one shot. They fucking did it. Like it. I don't. It's one of the greatest mysteries in the world because they did it. Like Miss Tao was so cool. She was still like cool as fuck, oozing cool, but she had depth to her at the same time. So I really, really recommend reading the one shot and then just reading the first chapter so you can, again, feel and see those differences for yourself. But Megan, what are your final thoughts and what is your final rating?
Just not for me. There's a lot of there's so many stories out there that I'd rather put and invest my time in. It might be for someone, someone might really like it. Let us know if you've read it and it's gotten better or if we're just missing something. But my final rating, because of the art and because it was really pretty to look at, I'm going to give it 3 magas out of 5.
That's crazy, bro. Okay.
Again, I wouldn't pick it up again.
No,
but based off the art and like the detail, like I'll give it like that's mainly for art, not really story or like character. Well, character too, but just mainly art.
I mean, I was struggling because for the same reason, like it is beautiful. It is beautiful. The character designs, the locations, like beautiful. But god damn, is it so generic? So I was kind of going back and forth. I guess I almost want to, you know what? I guess for the art, I'll give it a 2 out of 5. I'll give it a 2 out of 5 maga. You know why? Because it's not like the most awful thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
I think what hurts so much more about it is that it is just like so, and I know this is an overused word, but it is just so mid. It's just so like bland, so vanilla. It's not, it's a crime because like I would be more passionate if it was like bad or if it was like really good, but it's so middle of the road. It's so like take it or leave it. That yeah, I'll give it a 2 out of 5 maga.
Okay.
Well, that's going to do it for our review and discussion of Volume 1 of Gokurakugai. Like Megan was saying, if you've read it beyond the first volume, let us know if it does get better, if you do enjoy it, because that's the other thing. Obviously, if you enjoyed the first volume, no shade to you. These are our opinions, and we would love to know what you liked about it, what you connected with. So any and all thoughts about the first volume, good or bad, leave them down in the comment section down below. Remember, if you'd like to support this show and see more conversations like this, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/volume1pod to become a Patreon member. Click join somewhere next to the subscribe button to become a YouTube member. You can even try out the Patreon for free for the first 7 days to see if it's right for you. You can check these episodes out as audio only episodes as well on Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, and subscribing, liking. Those are things you can do for free that really do matter and really do help. Speaking of our Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to take a moment to shout out and thank members of our V1P tier. So thank you to all, no matter how you show your support, but a very, very, very special thank you to
Wombo, David Ramirez,
Jonathan R, and Quattro. Thank you guys.
V1P.
From the bottom of both of our hearts. The only thing left to do now is to get out of here on our outro. It's always the same and never changes, which today, Megan, is we've overused maga. Maga's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was trying to think of something else.
I mean, it is right there, but
it's right there for the picking.
Never go full maga. Until next time, never go full maga.
That's good.
Thank you for watching, for clicking on this video, for hanging out with us. And until next time,
never go full maga.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
I promise you will regret it.
Maybe not even half.
Don't go half either. Don't go any. Alma being half, too much. Too much. Damn.